The town of Seabrook was nothing like the bustling cities Alex had grown accustomed to. It was quiet, almost too quiet. The air here was thick with the scent of salt water and the faint promise of a new beginning. Alex had moved here a few months ago, escaping the ghosts of his past, the ones that seemed to chase him no matter where he went. The crowded streets of New York felt suffocating, their noise louder than the silence inside his heart. But here, the peace was almost overwhelming. The sound of the waves crashing against the cliffs was the only noise he could hear in the stillness of his days. His small, old house on the edge of town had been a refuge at first. He thought he could write, get away from the distractions that had haunted him for years. But as the days turned into weeks, a sense of emptiness began to seep into him. The loneliness he thought he had left behind in the city was still there, lurking in the corners of his new life. That was until he met her. Alex first saw Elena in the most unassuming place, an art gallery. He had no intention of visiting, but something in the window caught his attention. A painting of the sea, wild and untamed, yet peaceful in its chaos. The colors seemed to speak to him, pulling him inside like a siren's song. The gallery was small, tucked away on a cobblestone street. The air smelled of fresh paint and aged wood, the kind of place where the past and the present met in quiet harmony. There was only one person inside when Alex walked in, a woman standing in front of a canvas, her brush moving gently as she added the final touches to her latest piece. He couldn't help but watch her. There was something captivating about the way she moved, the calm confidence in her every gesture. She was lost in her work, the world around her fading away as she focused entirely on what she was creating. Alex had seen many artists at work, but none like her. When she finally turned, their eyes met for the briefest moment. Her gaze was intense, as though she could see straight through him. It unsettled him, but in a way that he couldn't explain. She smiled softly, almost apologetically, as if she had disturbed his thoughts. "Can I help you with something?" she asked in a quiet voice, her tone warm but distant. He cleared his throat, suddenly feeling awkward. I was just admiring your painting," he stammered. "It's beautiful." Her smile deepened, though there was a trace of sadness in her eyes. "Thank you. It's one of my favorites. The sea is unpredictable, but it's also peaceful in its own way." Alex felt an inexplicable connection to her words. He didn't know why, but they resonated deeply within him. It had been a long time since he'd been moved by something so simple, so honest. "I've always thought that," he said, stepping closer to the painting. "The ocean can be both terrifying and calming at the same time." Elena studied him for a moment, as if assessing whether he understood the weight of what he said. "It's the same with life, don't you think?" she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "The highs and lows, the beauty and the pain. It's all part of the same thing." Alex was taken aback by her insight. He wasn't used to meeting people who spoke so openly, so vulnerably. It reminded him of something he'd buried deep inside himself, something he wasn't sure he was ready to confront. "Yeah," he murmured, unsure of what to say next. "I think you're right." She tilted her head, studying him more closely now. "Are you new here?" Alex nodded. "I moved in a few months ago, just trying to figure things out." He hesitated, unsure of whether to reveal more, but there was something about her, a quiet understanding, that made him feel safe. "I get that," she said. I've lived here all my life. But sometimes, even when you stay in one place, you feel like you're drifting, you know? Her words hit him like a wave, pulling him under for a moment. He did know. He felt like he had been drifting for years, moving through life without truly living it. Maybe that was why he'd come here, to escape from himself, to forget. "You're an artist?" he asked, trying to shift the conversation to something more comfortable. She nodded, a faint smile playing at the corners of her lips. "Yes. This gallery is my second home, really. It's where I can create, where I can be myself. But sometimes, it feels like I'm just painting the same thing over and over, trying to capture something I can't quite explain." Alex smiled, feeling an odd connection to her struggle. "I know that feeling. I'm a writer, and I've spent so much time trying to write about the things that haunt me, but I never seem to get it right, like the words are just out of reach." Her eyes softened. Maybe it's not about getting it right. Maybe it's about trying to understand it, even if you never fully do. There it was again, that quiet wisdom that seemed to flow so effortlessly from her. Alex felt a stirring inside him, something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. They talked for hours that day, sharing their thoughts, their dreams, and the things they kept hidden from the world. Elna spoke of her art with passion, but there was an underlying sadness in her voice, a shadow that lingered in the depths of her words. Alex couldn't help but be drawn to it, to the mystery that seemed to surround her. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the gallery, Alex knew that something had shifted within him. He had come to Seabrook to escape, to hide from the world. But now, after meeting Elena, he realized that maybe, just maybe, he wasn't meant to hide anymore. When he left the gallery that evening, he found himself looking back over his shoulder, as though he were leaving a part of himself behind. And he couldn't help but wonder if, for the first time in years, he had found something worth staying for. In the days that followed, Alex found himself returning to the gallery time and time again. Each visit felt like a pull he couldn't resist, as though Elena's quiet presence was the anchor he had been searching for. And with each visit, their connection grew stronger, a bond forged in shared vulnerability and unspoken understanding. But even as their friendship blossomed, there was something in Elena's eyes, a guarded look, a sadness she kept hidden, that Alex couldn't ignore. He found himself wanting to know her more, to uncover the secrets she kept buried deep inside. But he knew deep down that some things weren't meant to be uncovered. Some things, like the ocean, were best left untouched. The days that followed were a whirlwind of quiet moments and unspoken truths. Elena and Alex had formed a rhythm, one that was effortless yet delicate, like the brushstrokes of a painting that could collapse under the weight of a single misstep. They shared everything, their hopes, their fears, their secrets, each one whispered softly into the air between them. The town, once a place of isolation for Alex, now felt like a canvas, a blank space waiting to be filled with their shared memories. But there was always a part of Elena that remained just out of reach, a part of her that she kept hidden, locked away in the depths of her soul. Alex had tried to ignore it at first, convincing himself that her silence was merely a part of her mysterious allure. But as the days turned into weeks, he began to sense a deeper truth. There was something she wasn't telling him, something that lingered like an unspoken shadow. It was a quiet afternoon when Elena called him. Her voice, usually warm and inviting, sounded distant, like she was speaking from far away. "Alex," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "Can you come to the studio? There's something I need to tell you." The words hung in the air between them, and Alex immediately felt a knot form in his stomach. He could hear the weight in her voice, the heaviness that seemed to swallow the space between them. Without thinking, he grabbed his coat and rushed out the door, his heart pounding with a mixture of anticipation and fear. The sky was a dull gray as he made his way to the gallery, the clouds hanging low like an omen. He arrived to find Elena standing in front of one of her paintings, her back turned to him. The brush in her hand was still, unmoving, as though the world around her had come to a sudden halt. "Elena," he called softly, but she didn't turn. When he stepped closer, she finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. "I've been avoiding this moment for so long, Alex, but I can't anymore. I need you to know. I need you to understand." Her words struck him like a blow, and a cold shiver ran down his spine. He stood there, frozen, as she slowly turned to face him. Her eyes were empty, hollow, as if the life had been drained from them. He had never seen her look this way before. The woman who had once been full of quiet strength and grace now appeared fragile, like a painting on the verge of being torn apart by the very hands that created it. "I'm sick, Alex," she said, her voice breaking on the last word. "I have been for a long time. The doctors, they say I don't have much time left." The words hung in the air, thick with the weight of their meaning. Alex felt as though the ground beneath him had suddenly vanished, leaving him suspended in the emptiness of her revelation. He had known something was wrong, had felt the pull of her silence, but nothing had prepared him for this. "I don't understand," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you let me help you?" Elena closed her eyes, the pain in her expression evident. "I didn't want you to get involved, Alex. I didn't want to pull you into this, into me. I knew that if I let you in, you'd get hurt. And I couldn't bear the thought of that. I couldn't bear the thought of you watching me fall apart." The truth hit him like a wave crashing against jagged rocks. The pain, the regret, the sense of helplessness. He wanted to reach out to her, to tell her that none of that mattered, that he was willing to stand by her side no matter what. But the words wouldn't come. They were trapped, suffocated by the enormity of the situation. "You don't have to do this alone," he said finally, his voice cracking. "I'm here, Elena. You don't have to hide from me. I'm not going anywhere." But even as the words left his mouth, he knew the truth. He couldn't fix this. He couldn't change what was happening to her. The inevitability of it hung in the air like a suffocating fog, and no matter how much he wanted to deny it, he couldn't escape the reality of the situation. "I wish I could believe you, Alex," she said softly, her voice tinged with sorrow. "But I can't. I've always known that I wouldn't have the time I wanted, that I wouldn't have the chance to live the life I dreamed of. I've spent so much time running from this, from the reality of it all. And now I'm just trying to make peace with it." Tears welled up in Alex's eyes as he looked at her, his heart breaking for the woman who had come to mean everything to him in such a short time. He had fallen in love with her, with the way she saw the world, with the way she painted the beauty of life in every stroke. He had let himself believe that they could have a future together, a life beyond the town and the pain. But now, all of that seemed like a distant dream, slipping further and further away with each passing second. "I don't want to lose you," he whispered, his voice barely above a breath. Elena reached out, her hand trembling as she touched his cheek. "You're not going to lose me, Alex," she said, her voice filled with a quiet resolve. "I'll always be here, in your heart. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough." She smiled, a sad, wistful smile that tore at his soul. It wasn't the smile he had come to cherish, the one that had once filled him with warmth and hope. It was a smile tinged with the bitterness of knowing that time was running out, that their love would never be enough to change the inevitable. Over the next few weeks, Alex stayed by Elena's side as much as he could, watching helplessly as her health deteriorated. The vibrant woman who had once been full of life now seemed to fade before his eyes, her body growing weaker, her spirit dimming with each passing day. And yet, in the quiet moments, she still found ways to smile, still found ways to share her art, her love, and her thoughts with him. But it wasn't enough. Nothing was enough. The final days were the hardest. Elena, once so full of strength and passion, was now bedridden, her breath shallow, her body fragile. But in her eyes, there was still a flicker of the woman he had fallen in love with, a faint spark that refused to die. And even as the light began to fade, Alex refused to let go, holding onto her with everything he had left, hoping against hope that somehow, some miracle would save her. But there was no miracle. Elena died quietly in the stillness of the night, her hand in his, her final breath escaping in a whisper of peace. And Alex was left alone, his heart shattered into 1,000 pieces, knowing that the woman he had loved, the woman who had given him a glimpse of something beautiful, was gone forever, and all that remained were the memories, the love, and the heartache. If you enjoyed this heartfelt story, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more touching tales like this. Your support means the world to us and helps us create more stories that warm the heart. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thank you for watching and being part of our story family.